Hello viewers, today we will be cleaning a Uniden 900 megahertz cordless phone. This is an early one, still carrying the extendophone branding. Not many 900s did. If I recall correctly, this is actually a digital model, although it's not advertised anywhere, which is kind of unusual. This is a pretty gross one. The foam is all deteriorated in there as usual. It's got lots of grime in the buttons there. Handset's pretty dirty. It's not too bad. So let's begin. Start by disassembling the handset. I need the long bits for this. Why isn't that coming out of there? Okay, well, anyways, and I believe there's a third screw up here at the top under this thing. Yes, there is. On some of the models there was a section on the base where you could store the belt clip. I guess this one doesn't have that, but anyways, that's where the belt clip would go on. Oh, that came apart very, very nicely. Okay, we got an awful lot of boards in here. Looks like there's at least 3 of them. And there's 4 screws on here that are labeled, so we'll go ahead and pull those out. So these are all the same length thus far. Okay, and it looks like the receiver cap actually plugs into the board, which is kind of nice. Easy replacement if this was back in the day when these were still under manufacture. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I guess it was scarier than it looks. Oh, this just came out of somewhere. This was on the receiver capsule somewhere. I don't know. We'll figure that out in a minute. It's got one of these dowel buttons, which are very difficult to clean because they're very, very fragile, and this one does need a good cleaning. So we'll do that. Let's take this gasket out of here. Actually, the handset, other than the sides of it, isn't quite as bad as I thought it was. Okay, so that's that. I'm very surprised and very happy that this didn't break. I don't know what transpired, but all this stuff was sitting on the drying table, and I went upstairs to use the phone, and I came back and everything was all over the floor. I don't know. I don't get that. But anyways, nothing broke, fortunately, so we'll just carry on and probably never know what happened. So, let's do some reassembly here. This is cleaned up okay. I got this cleaned up. It didn't break during cleaning, and it didn't break during its flight to the floor, which is really surprising. And this looks good too. We'll put that back in. And put this back in. I found out that this metal piece here that I saw, let's get this in place first. This metal piece goes in between the antenna and the board. That goes in like that, and then this goes on top of it. Like that. Is that where that goes? I'm thinking not. I think these screws go down here. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, it's spilled everywhere. I believe the contacts have to go in there first, and they do. So I'm going to clean these and we'll put these in. This is one of those cases where I wish there was more documentation for these boards. There's a jumper right there, which has to be there for a reason. I'd love to know what that does. Okay, all the buttons are working. Now, let's see here. Get these two screws in, and that's everything from the inside. That goes on so much easier than a lot of other phones. Okay, that's the handset. All cleaned up. Looks pretty good. And now let's get into the base. I only see 4 screws. There we go, now it's starting to come a little bit. It's probably a clip on the side. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, and what's nice about this is most of the circuitry is on the base, or the bottom half of it. So this is a ribbon cable. I believe it just comes out. Yes, it will. And this, not going to worry about that. Any date information in here? I don't see any date information, just the copyright of 1996. That's what the internal of the base looks like. Okay, and let's get this stuff out of here. This speaker disconnects as well with the plug. I guess there's no real reason to unplug it. It's pretty sturdy. I don't want to mess with it. This is just a button board, I guess it is. Doesn't look like anything else. And audio too, obviously. Speaker needs to be cleaned pretty badly. Okay, so here's the buttons for the base. These are all one piece. That's good. And these contacts, yeah, they do need to be cleaned. So I'm going to take these off of here as well. spider web on this screw. I hate spiders so much. Okay, and this and this just need to be dusted off. Why is this so wet? I didn't think it was that wet. Jeez. Yeah, something's wrong with the mute button. It's stuck down. Everything else seems to be working. Seems to be okay now. It's not sitting quite right. It's stuck again. It doesn't look like it's bent at all. There looks to be a little bit of water left. I thought this was totally dry, but apparently it's not. It looks okay to me. I don't know what the problem is. Okay, there is definitely a problem. Oh, no, that's behaving the same way. Huh. Alright, well, let's try it again. I'm not really sure what the problem is here. It does feel like this is kind of scraping up against the side more than the speakerphone button is. Or not speaker, the page intercom button. I don't know if there's anything we can even do about that, really. Yeah, it's definitely getting caught. And just like that, it starts working again. It's still a little bit sticky. I don't... Oh, man. Okay, this has turned into a freak show, and I gotta get the soldering iron out. Okay, that's warming up, and while it's doing so, I think what I will try to do is... Let's see, which side was it? It was the right side. Is that a water drop in there, or is that a defect in mold? No, that was a water drop. Can't imagine that water drop was causing the problem. And this isn't even the keypad that went flying. I would have expected the handset one to have a problem, if anything, because sometimes these little plastic tabs will bend ever so slightly and then the button's not where it needs to be. But that should not have transpired with this. It's still sticking. I guess I should have unplugged this. Shame on me. Now I remember why I didn't unplug it. What's the point of putting daggone plug there if you can't stinking use it? try to clean that with isoprisol and see if that makes any difference. I'm not going to go too crazy with this because chances are I may use this phone for 50 years and never mute the speakerphone. If this was a number key or something, I'd be more concerned about it. But most likely, this is not going to be an impairment to the way that I use the phone. I've never been a big fan of these buttons, these kind of buttons. I don't like the way these are designed, but this is what we're working with. Usually they don't have this problem though. The isoprisol did it. Or did it? Is it working or not? I think it may have something to do with this positioning of this board. It's working okay, but if I hold it down really tight, it kind of sticks a little bit. Well, maybe I'll just put the screws in very loosely. Just barely make them flush. I don't see why that would be a problem. It's already sticking. That wasn't the problem. I'm not sure why it's doing that. That's really sticking. Certainly seems like it's a tightness issue, but I'm hardly even making the screws flush with the surface of the stinking board. It's already sticking. I don't really think that there's any slack to move the thing around in here at all. What I'm kind of inclined to do is try to... Yeah, there's really no way... I want to push this down as much as possible, but I mean the leeway that's there is very minimal. Does make a little bit of difference, but not a whole lot. No, I'm just going to try to keep it as down as possible. Nope, still sticking. I have the slightest idea why. Somewhere on the right side it seems like it's getting stuck. I guess if you press it on the left side it's okay. And that may just be what we have to do. Because this is only worth so many hours of my day. And I don't foresee much coming out of this. There's a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to say I want to move it over to the left as much as possible here. Nope. That's very irritating. I don't know what it's getting stuck on. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it works okay if you press it on the left side. And so that's just what we're going to go with for now. We can always revisit this in the future. I'll have to go back to the initial checkout and see if this was a problem. I don't recall. It's been too long since I've done this phone. If you press it with 2 fingers, it's fine. It's only when you press it on that side, it doesn't... It's like it goes crooked or something. I don't know. That's irritating either way. Okay, so now let's repair this. I'm going to redo both sides because the other one is fixing to come off any second too. Actually, to make it a little bit easier, we'll just take this out. Is this other side okay? You know what, actually it is. Alright, that's fine. I'm going to leave the other side then. I thought it was going to come off, but I think it's okay. Alright, let's get this thing back together, sticking meat button and all. Let's do one more thing while we're in here. I want to charge these charging contacts. It's getting late. I'm going to clean these contacts here because the way this works is this actually touches another set of contacts on the board. And while this shouldn't get too dirty because it's not really exposed, I do see marks on there from where it's been touching. So let's clean that off and make sure this is going to get as good of a charge as it can. Okay. Since that was such a fiasco and so many things went wrong, I'm going to plug it up and test it just to make sure it's generally working. Yeah, actually, you know what? That honestly is usable. If you press it towards the center, it's okay. Okay. The speaker is working, that was my main concern. So let's close this back up. Okay, now before we conclude here, there is one more thing to do to the handset. Because this is missing one of the feet, it's not going to stand up quite right on the table. So I'm going to fill this one up with hot glue. Just a little bit. It's not that bad. I don't want it to be wobbly. Even that I think may be a little bit too much. Do not touch hot glue at home. My hands are calloused so they can handle it, but that's not really an advisable thing to do. Although this is low temperature glue, so it's not so bad. Okay, I think that'll suffice. It only needs to be like 0.5 millimeter. I think that'll do it. We can test it on here. Yeah, that's doing fine. Okay, good. Alright, that's going to conclude this one. Looks pretty nice now. A couple of issues with the buttons, but other than that, it's usable.